All right, Ryan Wright here, national recruiting analyst here with Bryan Matthews, Auburn rival site. I wouldn't call him a guru, knowing everything about the Auburn Tigers. You recovered from yesterday, Brian?
Barely, yes. But I did get up and walk the dog this morning, so that's step one. Yeah, but it was a great day for Auburn. It really was.
There you go. The outdoors misses you. Need some fresh air after trying to track
Yep.
everything from yesterday. So let's jump right down into it. We'll start off easy. Overall, what are your thoughts? I mean, they made a big push towards the end. Wasn't looking so good, maybe mid-October. What are your thoughts overall on Auburn's 2023 class as it stands right now?
Pretty incredible finish, if you ask me. And it really started even before you Freeze got there. Cadillac Williams, took over that program on Halloween, and he just really energized the fan base and recruiting. I think Auburn flipped two or three players before, during that interim period when they didn't have a head coach necessarily. Clay Whedon was one of them, the big four-star offensive tackle. Deron Reed, the really talented defensive lineman that was committed to LSU, he flipped to Auburn during that time period. So that was big. And then when you Freeze showed up, having him out front, tip of the spear, really being the lead recruiter for a lot of these top guys made a difference. And, it allowed Auburn to really move from, I think, right after he's hired, they had a few decommitments. I think they fell into the 50s in the national team recruiting rankings. And, when I checked late last night, they were up to number 16 nationally, which was just an incredible rise to me.
Yeah, they're I mean, if they continue to add 2023 guys, not looking at the transfer portal, adding that in, they very easily could end up with a top 15 class. There are some guys still out there that could be difference makers. So it'll be interesting. Guys like Tyler Scott. We'll see what he does, right? So with yesterday, there were some big flips. I don't know if they're on your radar of what were the splash signings, but are there, one or two or three guys that you were really impressed with how Auburn closed, even if they just kept him in the class? But any guys stick out for you?
Yeah, you got to start with what happened yesterday, right? I mean, Auburn, needs edge players badly. They've got one returning scholarship edge pass rusher coming back next year. Keldrick Falk grew up, I don't know, maybe an hour from Auburn, south of Montgomery. Grew up an Auburn guy. His younger brother's a sophomore, 2025, is one of the top players in the state for that class. He's a guy that Auburn should get, but he's been committed to Florida State since I think early July or late June. That they beat Auburn for that in that battle during the summer, but Auburn stayed with him. Zach Etheridge, Auburn's secondary coach, was a lead recruiter for a defensive end, and he did a great job of staying in touch. And then once you Freeze arrives, they really put the press on him and his family, and they got him in the final day before the dead period on Sunday, after on his way back from a Florida State trip, and managed to close the deal then. And so I thought that was big, getting him to flip on signing day. And then the other big signing day flip was from Kyan Lee, the cornerback from over in Georgia. He was committed to Ohio State. And if you followed Auburn for a while now, and they're recruiting, they keep getting beat by Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, and they keep losing these recruiting battles. So for them to win one late against one of those premier programs, I think it sort of sends a message to the fan base: hey, we're back. We're going to start competing with these guys in recruiting, and eventually get this roster where it starts recruiting with these guys a little bit better on the field too.
Yeah, I've written about it. I know some of the people on the board weren't so excited. I think they were in panic freak out mode of the Auburn fans on the Rivals message board. But Cadillac Williams, like you said, Zach, Coach Etheridge, all of those guys did such a great job holding that class together the best they could, and then bringing on more guys. I mean, there's some groundwork for 2024 guys, in South Florida and stuff with Trader, and I know Smith committed to Ohio State, but still they're bringing fantastic talent in. I think they were kind of in the running for a while with Reuben Bain and Stanquan Clark, all without a head coach. And again, that's I'll call it the Cadillac effect on that,
Absolutely.
but I know it was a group effort. So last question for you. You may have kind of mentioned two of the guys, but things will change. There's the transfer portal that will work for and against any team out there. But as things stand today, the guys that Auburn has coming in the 2023 class, Falk, you mentioned they need an edge rusher. Are there any other guys that you see could be impact players day one. Doesn't mean that they're going to be all SEC, but will get on the field and start making a difference early on in their career for the Tigers.
Well, considering they're going to turn over close to half this roster before May, I think they got room for 40 or 45 when it's all said and done. I think a lot of these guys are going to have to play. But the offensive line has been a sore spot in Auburn recruiting and player acquisition for going on a decade now, just about. And they really did a great job so far of addressing that. And they brought in a bunch of transfer offensive linemen, too, that we think Auburn's in pretty good shape for several of them. But Isaiah Miller, the JUCO offensive tackle who signed with Auburn, was committed to Ole Miss, came down to Auburn, Mississippi State, chose Auburn. And I think he's going to step in and be a starter right away, either left or maybe right tackle. But he's a guy that's going to step in and help out immediately. And then Auburn signed, I think, was it three other high school offensive linemen, some really good players. They managed to flip Tyler Johnson from Texas Tech. And, Euphrates talked about him being a guy that's going to take a little bit, but sees him as a 2 or 3 year starter down the line. So that's another big 6'7" tackle. Those are the type of bodies that Auburn just doesn't have on their team right now. Clay Wheaton's another big 6'6", more of a developmental guy. So guy's a great frame at offensive tackle. Braden Joyner is a guy that can play center or guard for Auburn. And then I thought maybe the best 3-star of the group, the guy who I think can really play above his ranking is Connor Liu. He's the big center from Kennesaw, Georgia, was committed to Miami, another guy that Auburn flipped. I just think I watched his tape. I see a guy who finishes, who's really tough and physical in there. I just think he's a perfect SEC center. So I think at that area, they've taken a big step in addressing it, and I think they're going to take some more steps through the transfer portal there too. But you're going to see the offensive line, the defensive line, they did a great job there. That's another big need. I thought going out and get a JUCO defensive lineman, flipping a couple of big linemen down the stretch, getting Deron Reed and Steven Johnson from Arkansas, they flipped him too. So they addressed the big needs at the line of scrimmage.
Awesome. Well, Bryan, thank you for your time today. Thanks for running it down. We'll have to catch up, see sometime in January, getting closer to the National Signing Day, where Auburn may be also with the transfer portal and other 2023 guys. But thanks again, Bryan. Get some rest.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you.